Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 3rd Newberg City Council meeting. I'll call a meeting to order. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Councillor McBride.
Here.
Councillor Wheatley. Here. Councillor Yarnell Holman. Here. Councillor Kilberg. Here. Mayor Rosacker.
Here.
Councillor Carmen.
Here. Shall we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Oh, we always start our meetings with the city manager's report.
And these are the events for May 2024. Public Works and Engineering, emergency management meetings and response updates for DEQ are being developed for new recycling regulations, and we will of course be complying with those. And an update to our safety manual is continuing with a review by CIS. Now, we've always had a safety manual, but periodically there are some reviews, and so our insurance is doing that. Paving. Current areas of focus for the paving effort may be south of downtown, with focuses on River Street, Chehalem and 8th Street. At least those are the ones that were indicated as likely areas in our engineering worst streets list. However, we're doing a survey right now, as you know, to see what other opinions are, and then we'll be boiling all this together to bring something to council so that you can see what the streets we're going to try and tackle are. And of course, there is a coordinating effort for pavement maintenance along with HB 2001. If we've got to lift the street anyway to do a pipe, we're going to try and do paving over the top as part of the deal because it's cheaper. And talked about that already. The worst street survey is underway. Now, we are trying a new strategy right now. Instead of having them bid out for specific street sections, we are having each paving company bid on a type of application for a theoretical size of street section, so as to create a best price offer list. That will be like a shopping list that we can go to. So let's say that one company is better at doing chip seal and another company is better doing complete rebuild by price, then we will know which companies to use. New thing that we've never tried before. Hopefully it will control price. For HB 2001 projects, design is in progress. First construction phase is expected to be advertised in the fall. Additional design and construction phases will continue through the year, and design is progressing at about the 60% stage at this time. And segments I1 and I4 of the project have been submitted for engineering review. The Winooski Outfall Extension, project that's been going on for a while, advertised May 6th with bid opening scheduled May 31st. Construction timelines are anticipated to fall between July and September. And that's the one, as you may recall, where the bank is being eroded away. So we want to extend the pipe a little bit to stop that from happening. And some smashing statistics. Wow, look at all of that work, including sewer mainline cleaning 900 feet, getting junk out the pipe. Lots of other good things, water meter maintenance, and sweeping 29 yards of debris. We're getting back into doing a lot more sweeping right now. And here are some images from the Public Work Maintenance decant facility, new stormwater lines and forms for concrete. And this is to provide more opportunity to dump out detritus from the sweeping machines and from the vacuum machines. When we're sucking up dirt, we can dump it here, filter it, and try to keep junk out of the system and do it in-house. Fleet tasks. Here's a couple of our police units being serviced. And over to operations matters in Public Works. The Consumer Confidence Report, sometimes called the Water Quality one, has been completed, and it's pushing out to the public soon. Backflow test notices were mailed out recently. As of mid-May, 673 completed tests have come in, but that's only 22%. So if you're following along at home and if you have a smashing sprinkler system that needs to have a backflow, please do respond to the city's request to get that backflow testing. We don't want strange junk getting sucked back up into the water system. And roofs for 4 sections of the water treatment plant were replaced in the last few weeks. These actions will extend the lifespan of the building. Recently, American Public Works Association announced its 2024 Top 10 Public Works Leaders of the Year. In its 65th year, this award is one of the highest honours that can be bestowed on a lifetime of professional excellence in public works. The recipients of the award are chosen by past recipients. They embody professionalism, expertise, personal dedication to improving the quality of life of their communities through a life of service. And the winners were, and the only one at the bottom matters. He done us proud. And here's a small look into what community engagement has been up to in May. The city website is coming closer to completion, and as you know, that's going to bring us a website that is more customer friendly, can be searched, bookmarked more easily, and it's just going to be all round more accessible. The winner for the electric street sweeper naming contest was chosen, so community engagement began work on a design for the wrap, and Corey says I'm not allowed to say the name yet.
No.
I'm still not allowed to say the name? Okay, well, to be revealed at Public Works Day. And we worked with Public Works to get the word out about Russ Thomas and the award that we just recognised, including posts on social media and the website about this. And efforts to recruit crew members for the new concrete crew positions began in May. And we've been talking to everybody we can possibly talk about to get these positions filled. And last I heard, there are some good applicants in the hopper now. And there is some of the recent community engagement work, including those hirings. And the one about the council vacancy for District 3. Over to police news. National Police Week is a time to honour officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. It has become a tradition at the department to celebrate Police Week with good food and also supportive spouses doing lots of things for the officers. The Police Foundation and the Police Association all lean in to help with this. Officer Fergus and Officer Carlson received meritorious service awards for work done on several theft cases around town. 2 officers who went above and beyond all expectations to put together a winning case. And on Monday, May 27th at 11 a.m. at Memorial Park, NDPD Honour Guard ensured that we would remember our fallen. It was a time of serious reflection on those who have given so much for the liberties that we all hold so dear. And in the library, May was filled with programs and summer reading prep, including beginning our school events for every public and private elementary school in the area. Our library teen intern started, a position that's grant funded to help, and another intern, Jessie, was seen around the library working for credit in her master's degree in library science from the University of Washington. And here's a picture of some of the kids cleaning toys from the children's library, helping preparations for Public Works Day. We also had an unusual new program, which was a houseplant swap. Now, as you know, any houseplant given to me dies within seconds. Not so with these folks. They were swapping plants, talking about ideas for them. Library volunteer Heather brought this to the library. And of course, we also had a display of all of our books on the topic, but no such book could ever help me. And also, we had a few really cool library stories get sent to staff. A mother and daughter looking for books in the catalogue for research topics said, "Don't you want to research volcanoes?" And the kid said, "No, I don't like hot stuff." Told to a staff member by one of our patrons, "This week my son made me promise to play library with him. He spent a lot of time moving books from his room. Once he was ready, I came and pretended to be a library patron. He helped me find a book and then he read it to me. It was the first time he was ever willing to read to me at home. And he read 2 whole books. And he told me where I could check out one of those at a self-check machine that he had made himself with cardboard. He pointed to a box for returns so I could make sure to bring them back on time." For the month of May, finance has been incredibly busy, publishing the budget, holding budget meetings. The budget committee approved the budget on May 14th. Hooray! And now finance, with the help of the graphic design specialist, is working on assembling the final version. Of course, there will also be the usual end-of-year supplemental budget to true things up. Senior payroll specialists, with the help of others, have been working on further improving our timesheets to make them more user-friendly on that new platform. And the utility billing team has preparing new forms in order to help us with applications for military assistance and financial assistance for applicants starting in June 1st. Human Resources continues to navigate the ever-changing world of paid leave Oregon and the Oregon Family Leave Act, striving to ensure seamless integration no matter how crazy the law turns out to be next. HR has been working with all employees directly affected by these changes to tell them about their new options and try and keep ahead of the changes. Also this month, the library coordinated with HR to hold another Safety in Motion training, this time for volunteers at the library, led by Sydney from HR, alongside the CIS Risk Management staff member Margaret Ryan, teaching folks how to move things safely. Safety in Motion is trying to reduce injuries at work, which is a good thing because our compensation loss history is down. In May, the IT department resumed the desk phone upgrade project delayed by the flood and replaced nearly all the older models in the public safety building. They worked with the police department and have begun investigating improved connectivity for the in-vehicle devices. There have been several connection problems with current devices, and we're looking for new solutions to hopefully resolve those issues with our mobile desktops in the cars. Now that we have our permanent manager again, we have also in IT resumed interdepartment meetings. This was a thing that Ian started and Joseph is continuing with, where they meet with all the departments to ask them what's working and what's not in IT so that everything can work better. And here's a picture of one of those mobile desktop units that I referenced just there. In the City Recorder's office, they've been focusing on final rollout of the new agenda and meeting management software eScribe. Unfortunately, we didn't know about the pop-up blocker, but we do now. At the end of the month, staff, city council and committee members began receiving login information. Live testing was done during the May 20th City Council meeting, and meeting access on the website changed over on May 24th. Staff from other departments have reported that they're finding eScribe more intuitive and easier to use. In addition, staff continue to work on digitization efforts, launched the elections information for the fall, worked through appointment processes on 4 committee vacancies, and began a mid-term appointment process to fill the District 3 vacancy. CDD staff, also known as Smashing Mega Planners, continued with the Workflow Workshop, a customer service effort that will work with our new OpenGov software to try to make sure that every step in the permitting process is as streamlined as it can possibly be. They also facilitated 3 pre-application meetings for a new duplex with Friendsview, historic landmark review, and several other items of that sort. They participated in a workforce and middle housing summit hosted by the Missing Middle Housing Fund, looked at Planning Commission recommendations, including an annexation, modifications to the Springbrook Master Plan, and other items of that type. They also presented to the Historic Preservation Commission as the beginning of a process for review of potentially having to fix some of the windows in City Hall, because it's a historical building. So that is the massive ton of smashing May events that we have seen. Are there any questions?
Go ahead.
Just briefly, Will, how are the renovations coming clean up from the fire or the water, the flooding?
So where we're at right now is that the insurance tussles with CIS are behind us. Now, we did lose months of back and forward with them. So we're finally underway. I did get a chance to look last week at things like paint colors and carpet choices. And you will be pleased to know that I chose the most affordable carpets of each type that were within the same quality range. So those decisions have been made. There's some more wiring work that we have to look at, and there's an engineering review that we have to look at for the soft spots where some of the subfloor might have to be cut out and replaced. That hasn't happened yet. I think you're going to see work substantially begin in September, and that's when we're hoping to move things forward. I do not know exactly when we're going to get back into the building. I mean, to be honest, we lost many months at the beginning with pushing back and forward with CIS, but we're finally past that. So fingers crossed. I hope to bring you more information when the engineering review is finished on the soft spots, but we're continuing to move as quickly as we can. Other questions, folks?
All right, today we have a presentation from Recovery Works Northwest, Robbie, and I'm not sure I know what your name is. Come on up. If you would, use the microphone right there.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council people, representatives of the City of Newberg. Can everyone hear me okay? Wonderful. Thank you. My name is Joe Bezegi,
And I'm Robbie Hoffman.
and together we are here to represent Recovery Works Northwest. We are a very grateful resident of the City of Newberg, residing at 308 Villa Road, just there off of 99. And we brought a very short presentation, but my hope today is just to introduce to the City Council what we do, why we're grateful to be in Newberg, and then a little bit about our services and how we can serve the citizens and residents of Newberg, Oregon. So with that, I'll just go ahead and launch into this, and I'll try to make this part of it fast. Maybe I've gone the wrong way. So Recovery Works Northwest is a medical practice originally established by Doctors Brian and Ben Schwartz, MDs, from Oregon. Their original practice began in downtown Tigard, so just down the road. We have been serving Newberg residents since we have opened over 10 years ago. We are so grateful to 18 months ago have expanded into the city of Newberg proper. By doing so, we are providing more direct service to our clients, shorter commutes. And what exactly do? We serve people that are either actively experiencing or recovering from substance addictions. Our client census is about 70 to 75% Medicaid enrolled. We serve a lot of low-income folks. As well, we serve many people who are experiencing addictions to fentanyl, methamphetamine, and alcohol. Those are our primary substances that we see oftentimes. Folks that are pursuing our services are poly-drug users. Our goal is that individuals find sustained wellness, and we understand that no matter how we define wellness, compulsively and destructively self-administering street drugs or alcohol will not fit that definition. So I mentioned again, I'll go quickly here, but again, we provide medicine, so physician services and behavioral health services. That would be therapists and certified alcohol and drug counselors, certified recovery peers to help people recover from substance addictions. We integrate everything we do. So our medicine programs and our therapy programs, everything works together. We have a detox located in Southeast Portland. We provide detox services to people that are Medicaid enrolled with the Oregon Health Plan or are unable to achieve enrollment with the Oregon Health Plan due to, as we call categorically ineligible individuals. Oftentimes, these individuals lack residency documentation or fall outside of income requirements. One way or another, they're unable to achieve private health plans and they are unable to be enrolled in the Oregon Health Plan. But 95% at my last count of our folks that are treated here are Oregon Health Plan enrolled. And we're providing treatments in this inpatient setting at about 7-day stays for individuals that require medical monitoring for life-threatening side effects of fentanyl or alcohol dependency primarily. Up in anytime.
You're doing great.
Thank you. We have outpatient medicine as well. So one thing I wanted to make really clear just today, and I want everyone to know this is a resource for your community, and it saves lives, especially in the age of fentanyl, is that there are certain medications that can help people to manage cravings and reduce overdose deaths associated with fentanyl use and reduce return to use primarily. And a lot of folks, when they hear that we have physicians that are offering medicines to help people not take opioids, street opioids, they associate us mentally with methadone clinics. And I just want to be very clear, we're not a methadone clinic. We don't offer daily dispense. We don't ask people to queue in front of our buildings in the front of the day. And methadone, if we were to go, I'll be quick on down the kind of sciencey path. That is a substance that is a full agonist opioid. It provides a euphoria response. It provides the same thing as people get off the street with opioids. Our primary tools are buprenorphine and naltrexone-based medications. All this is not to speak down on methadone, but just to let everyone in the room know that we are not a daily dispense methadone clinic. We don't have a parking lot full of people waiting to get a morning dose every day. We're a doctor's office and a therapy office. So we offer counseling. We offer mental health services. We offer peer services. This is a concept that's just becoming more and more understood. The idea being that folks that have lived experience with overcoming addictions are uniquely equipped to help those that are still pursuing their path. And so we do employ peers. Both myself and Robbie are certified recovery mentor. Both of us are certified by the state of Oregon for peer support as persons with lived experience. Just a quick note, like there's only one Google review here, but we don't ask people to review us, but a lot of clients just spontaneously go online and write reviews. So that's our first Newberg review. We're really excited about that one there. Our detox has got 4.7 stars. All right. All of our places get really good reviews because our clients love us. So 4.5 has got the most reviews and the most clients there. That's Portland. Let me see that cute picture of our team. And probably about July 1, we're going to open a 5,500 square foot recovery center in Milwaukee as well. So we're expanding. We're grateful. This is maybe one of the most important takeaways is that we have withdrawal management detox capacity that's available to Newberg residents. We transport people out there regularly. We've had many Newberg residents pursue services with us in through the beginning their journey in the Southeast Portland facility and then continuing their services at our Villa Road location down here. And, there was not a lot of options for folks that were Medicaid enrolled to receive these full slate of services. And I know that this is all kind of wonky and specific, and that's why we felt that we feel gratitude for this venue and your time today to understand like how we can serve your neighbors, siblings, parents, children, and other members of the community that experience addiction, because it really does affects communities. And we know that it's not like, it doesn't select just the rich, the poor, the this, the that. It's a wide ranging impact. Last couple slides. This is like a picture of a treatment group. Like, we're really friendly spaces and people. Just all around. This is our detox. It's not like a drab, sad environment. It's a place that was built for healing. And recoveryworksnw.com is a great place to get in touch with us. But also, you got some flyers going around that talks about our intake process. Robbie has some cards, and Robbie, let me just hand it to you for introduction, but Robbie is the Behavioral Health Resource Network Coordinator down here. So a great person to know.
Yeah, so one of the things that I try to focus on is going out and meeting organizations in our community that we all have the same goal, and that's meeting needs. So I think we do a really great job at continuing that, and there's more to come, but we meet with each other, and we've also even done a subgroup. So we've even added more meetings to figure out how I know, right? How is it that we can get this word out to our community? So with everyone pitching in, I mean, we've made flyers, we've made cards, and we just go hand those out. And that information, is phone numbers. We have walk-in clinics, all sorts of things, trying to lower the barrier for folks who need and want help.
Is there any questions that we can answer about recovery services, Recovery Works Northwest presence in Newberg, or how we might be able to partner? We certainly would love to leave some resources. Please.
So what is your success rate of people that come through there?
So at that withdrawal management facility, we currently 4 out of 5, 80% people that enter that facility complete treatment and transition from that environment into continuing care. That would be like residential care or housed outpatient care or just medications only. So we have a very high success rate in there. It's harder to get you a specific number when it comes to, like, say, 6 months after that encounter, how many people have remained free from substance use, 1 year. But we do know that we have really great client retention. And we understand that when people leave, they come back. And so we do everything we can to stay connected as the journey unfolds. It's also, we're saying folks that take medications have greater success remaining abstinent from drugs of choice.
Well, I will say that as a person in recovery myself, Recovery Works is hands down we're honored to have you in our community. And unfortunately, my family has frequented probably every detox and treatment center in Oregon and Southwest Washington. And by far the most compassionate people at Recovery Works. And Robbie is incredible. So the one thing that I would just ask if you know, or if you could pass along, I know that our Board of Commissioners and Director Manfred are really interested in a detox center, which is so desperately needed in Yamhill County. And I think it's great that you shared that you will transport, because I think a lot of people in the community don't know that they will transport to your Portland detox center. But what do you think the appetite is of Recovery Works? I know detox centers are a lot different than standing up an outpatient center. But if the money was there somehow, do you think that there would be willingness to step out as the lead of that work with the county?
Counselor, thank you so much for your kind words about Recovery Works. Very much received and appreciated, and I look forward to passing it forward. If I had gone to my team 1 year ago and asked that question, it would be pretty straightforward, like, what are you thinking? We got our hands full. But now we are the most recent licensed inpatient detox facility in the state of Oregon. And now we have a stable facility that is completely up to speed. And so I've been testing the waters as I do, and the tone has changed. And there is now open conversation about whether our team is ready to pursue that initiative specifically. And so you asked what the appetite is. I would say growing is fair to say. We don't have a decision from our leadership team yet, but the fact that the conversation is ongoing and our operations in Foster Road, Southeast Portland, have stabilized. We've added all the substances. We did a very slow ramp. We're very judicious. We got to be very careful in these type of operations. So that's accomplished. So we would love to continue to have that conversation. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, this is good news. I don't know much about this type of work, but we know we have many people in Newberg who could use these services. How are you able to do it? I mean, financially, do you have donors or how does that work?
Thank you. Wonderful question. We sustain our services through fee-for-service billing with Medicaid, and then also with contracts with counties for indigent or categorically ineligible for Medicaid clients. And then finally, we do have, especially in our outpatient environments, we are boarded with every major private insurance carrier in Oregon, almost. It's very close to being an absolute statement. So our services are sustainable. We are a medical practice. And so our services are sustainable without having to return the kitty to the public accounts. Now, what we have benefited from is helping and stand up new services. This is a service that obviously, like going to the banks, they're not really super familiar with these type of services. But when we have received, like for instance, in our Foster Road facility, we received some assistance from Clackamas County in establishing that facility. They don't have to continually write us checks, but they helped us to get the property in place and get it staffed and supplied. And then from that point, our medical team and our operations team came, and Clackamas County is really happy. Thank you for that question.
Can I follow on? So, one thing I think that would be a really awesome opportunity for our council together, since I know that our Board of Commissioners are really interested in a detox center, is with the second round of the Measure 110 dollars and the burn, if people are interested in a detox center in Needham County, really backing support for our commissioners to utilize that burn money for a detox center, because and the burn is the behavioral health resource network that all of the addiction providers are part of. And there will be a renewal process soon for July 2025. And that really, maybe would be enough time for Recovery Works to have, and that would be, I think, what I'm understanding is like the startup money,
Yes.
investment dollars
Precisely.
for a facility that requires that much capital up front. So I would personally love to see that, then small buckets of money go to nonprofits that we're not seeing the bang for the buck currently that we really need with a full-blown detox center.
We've been open in Foster Road since September 20th of 2023, so 7 months now. And we've treated about 600 individuals in that center in that amount of time. And that was with that slow ramp to capacity. So now that we're at capacity, we're going to be offering well over 1,200 treatments per year out of that one facility. It was with that one investment by, in this case, Clackamas County, we increased, funny enough, Multnomah and Clackamas counties withdrawal management capacity by over 20%. Just one facility. And it happened at a time when the need, because of the deadly wave of fentanyl contamination in our street supply, Couldn't have been timed better. It was just such a blessing. Now that place is buzzing. It's full all the time. We're lucky that we have our outpatient clinic right here in Newberg, so we serve a lot of Newberg folks there. Yeah, which is a blessing because they do really well by the Yeah, we're here to, we're a part of the community and we're here to serve.
Well, thank you very much. We're glad you're here. We're sorry that you need to be here, but,
Sure.
thank you for your good work.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Thank you, City Council. Appreciate you.
Next, we have a general election announcement. Melissa, is that you?
Hi, everybody. So this is just an announcement I'm doing for Rachel, who cannot be here today. The general election for 2024 will be held on November 5th of this year in Newberg. 3 councilors will be elected to Newberg City Council. The current terms of office for District 1, District 3, and District 5 will end on December 31st, 2024. Filing for office opens on June 5th, 2024, and closes on August 17th of this year. The candidate elections are for councilors in District 1, 3, and 5 for a term of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2028. While candidates for each position must live within their district, all offices are elected at large. Candidate requirements. Candidates must be registered voters in the state of Oregon and have lived in the city of Newberg for 12 months immediately preceding the election. Candidates for councilor positions must also reside in the district where they are running for office. A link to the city's district maps is available online. If you go to our site online, newbergoregon.gov, go to City Council to determine which district you reside in, and then type in your address. If you're interested for running for office, the first day to submit candidate filing documents is June 5th, 2024, and again, the last day is August 17th. Election filings will be held by appointment. And if you want to run for office in Newberg, residents can either file a declaration of candidacy, which is an SEL 101, and a petition, which is an SEL 121, and collect 25 signatures of qualified legal voters in the city of Newberg, Yamhill County, Oregon, or file a declaration of candidacy, SEL 101, and pay a $25 filing fee. Chapter 7 of the Newberg City Charter and Chapter 2.05, Article 2 lists requirements for local candidate elections. Yamhill County conducts the election. The city of Newberg is also bound by Oregon election law as administered by the Secretary of State. If you want to know more information, you just go to our website at newbergoregon.gov, go to city manager page, and then go over to elections. Or you can contact the city recorder's office. You can give us a call or even just send us an email at cityrecorder@newbergoregon.gov. Thank you for your time. Any questions? Great.
Thank you. Next, we have a legislative hearing. Oh, they're making their way. So, first of all, I call this legislative hearing to order. James, you have some legal things you need to read?
For legislative, your show, Mr. Mayor, so declaration of conflicts of interest would be next.
So this is, at this time, we have, we need to declare conflicts of interest or abstentions. Any of the city councilors need to invoke that. Thank you. And it's time for the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Rosacker, members of the City Council, Scott Siegel, Community Development Director, and James Dingwall, our Assistant Planners here this evening. And this is a continuation of the public hearing that you opened on the 20th of May to consider the city's draft housing needs analysis, economic opportunities analysis, and public and semi-public lands study. And these are all foundational documents for potential updates to the city's comprehensive plan that would help justify perhaps an expansion of the urban growth boundary for housing and or employment industrial land uses. It's part of an approved work program that you've directed staff and the county has also approved the work program. The DLCD has allowed us to go through a sequential process to consider these changes to our comprehensive plan. I think where you left off on the 20th, you had some very specific questions about the study, the housing needs analysis, and how the housing figures and the densities were derived. And Mr. Dingwall will be presenting on that. And what we'd like to do is come back around at the end of the staff presentation to facilitate or ask for your direction on how you would like to either move forward in adopting these studies or parse it out and take one or the other forward. And that seemed to be the general tenor of your previous conversation. You were considering perhaps moving forward with only the economic opportunities analysis as an alternative to adopting the 3 studies. And there is a pathway for doing either of those actions, but we'll come back around to discuss that at the conclusion of James' presentation.
All right, good evening, Councilor. So we'll start off with some slides that you've seen, I think 3 or 4 times now to go through it. So the ordinance for this council goals 2 and 7, identifying industrial land and attracting employers to encourage family-related jobs and increasing land availability for housing. This includes objectives to identify land other than the mill site, to zone for light manufacturing, and working to bring land into the UGB for residential and light manufacturing within 5 years. And as you've seen before, this is task 1 of the sequential UGB process, which was approved by the LCD on April 9th, eventually followed by efficiency measures and a UGB amendment in task 2 and 3. And then to summarize the HNA, EOA, and PSP, housing needs analysis, economic opportunity analysis, public, semi-public. Documents indicate a need for 34 acres of medium density residential land, accounting for public and semi-public and neighborhood commercial uses that would be assumed to accompany that residential growth, and 44 acres of high density residential land. That high density need includes 11 acres of housing need, and then again, 33 acres of employment and public and semi-public land that would be assumed to accompany that residential growth. And then, as Scott mentioned, we'll discuss this need and methodology a little bit more at the very end of the presentation. And then to summarize the process again, this comprehensive plan text amendment was initiated by council in August of 2022. Planning Commission held a public hearing in October of 2022 and forwarded a recommendation of approval to City Council. And this is a follow-up to the May 20th City Council meeting. And then finally, Ordinance 2024-2925 would adopt the HNA, EOA, and PSP and amend the Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 5, Land Supply and Need. So now to look at some of the questions that we addressed in the technical memo. So do the density assumptions reflect policy changes? So kind of at the big picture level, no, those changes in density assumptions update that land supply and need chapter, but not the housing or economy goals chapters themselves. Those may be changed in later steps of the sequential process or by additional action by council in general. Do the density assumptions reflect the development that we're seeing on the ground? Yes, similar to the existing comprehensive plan densities that are adopted. The HNA's proposed densities are based on trends from 2000 to 2018. And then a 3% increase was included in one of the updates per HB 2001 and middle housing policies. The HNA also assumes slightly more efficient development. So the adopted comprehensive plan assumes a 25% right of way for development, while the proposed HNA includes a 20% right of way need for low and medium density and a 17% need for high density development.
So that's your land for streets.
Yeah, streets.
Essentially, that's for streets.
Utilities. So here you can kind of see the comparison between the trends in the 2005 adoption versus the planned density goals in dark green, and then the trends in light blue from the proposed HNA, and then the those trends plus that 3% that the proposed H&A sees as its final density goals.
So I just want to have us pause there for a moment and are folks tracking along with this? And the reason that you're seeing that incremental increase from recent trends to density assumptions is that is the 3% that were required or that were provided by the state to assume for essentially middle housing, I believe.
Yep.
So
And then, in addition, so those density goals that are currently adopted and are proposed in the H&A are not the only policies that impact the development that we see on the ground. So just, for example, the Newberg Municipal Code currently allows up to 34 dwelling units per acre for duplexes in the R3. And kind of, you can see the variety there of different housing types in different zones. And as a note, that does not include cottage clusters, multifamily, or ADUs, given kind of the diversity and flexibility in those types. So there's kind of multiple avenues for council to impact and how development shows up on the ground through the comprehensive plan, through the code, et cetera.
right, yeah, and so those are maximum densities. And so I think this is really important because when we get to, or if we move forward with the process, the sequential review, and the next task is to consider these efficiency measures that the state requires that we examine. Efficiency can be gained within existing policy. I think that's what this demonstrates, is that our zoning has much more capacity than what our recent experience has been with development. So efficiency analysis would tell us, well, how do we, if we were to step on the accelerator with density, how would we go about doing that? If we were just to coast along with the market as we're doing now, what does that look like? And those are the density assumptions that are implicit in this work. There are very few tools that we have to sort of suppress that density or to redirect it in ways, but there are options that if we were to go through the efficiency measures and the alternatives analysis that are part of this work scope, we would be considering, are there places where the zoning is really out of alignment with the capability to serve land with infrastructure? Are there areas that would be more appropriately zoned one way rather than how they're zoned today? And the ability to look at transferring density to different parts of the community where it might be more suitable based on infrastructure and other considerations. So we're not there yet. This is really just the first step in establishing baseline numbers. But this is what these numbers may allow, would allow us to consider in terms of alternatives. The zoning, again, allows much more capacity than what our comprehensive plan or what our, I should say, what the recent trends and the assumptions provide.
All right. What else does the H&A change about the comprehensive plan's land supply and need section, in addition to using the more recent development activity? So it would look at an updated housing need projection based on updated population forecasts, average household size, the vacancy rate, and the need for group quarters such as dorms or nursing homes. And there's a significant difference in the need for dwelling units based on the adopted 2005 analysis and the proposed H&A. So the 2005 analysis currently in the comprehensive plan looked at two different timeframes, 2005 to 2025 and 2026 to 2045. Both of these time periods were projected to need a similar number of housing units, approximately 6,400 in 2005 to 2025, and just over 6,000 over the next 20 years. And then this translated to a pretty significant need of residential land. So in that initial 05 to 25, just over 250 acres of low density, 30 acres of medium density, and 76 acres of high density. And then again, for the 2026 to 2045, those numbers are a lot higher, as that first number kind of assumes available land within the UGB at that time in 2005. So 735 acres of low density, 191 acres of medium density, and 83 of high. The proposed H&A, kind of with the updated trends and analysis, so which has some assumptions and some safe harbor methodologies by the state, as you can see, has a much lower projection of housing needs, so just over 3,100 units, and then indicates that surplus of 35 acres for low density, and then the deficit of 34 and 44 acres for medium and high density land. What could change if the city conducted a new H&A in the future? So a new H&A would require updated population projections that will be finalized in June of this year. The preview data that we've gotten from the Portland State University Population Research Center indicates that this new forecast will be about 2,000 residents higher than the forecast that the current H&A is based on. And then also some new work would include some updated sufficiency analysis, so supply and need, and an updated buildable lands inventory. And then the final point from the technical briefing was where could this planned density be built? So the location and distribution would largely be established in tasks 2 and 3. However, the existing comprehensive plan, adopted data, and the proposed H&A both show the greatest amount of buildable land in the low density residential areas. So it's approximately 70% in 2004 when the current comprehensive plan data was analyzed, and just over 75% in the analysis from 2021. There was a decrease in the amount of medium density land available for building. Between those two analysis points, approximately half of the share in 2021 than it was in 2005, and a very similar amount of high density land. The new analysis did include mixed use and the Springbrook Village residential category, so that does adjust how those shares work slightly. And then looking at the housing needs analysis map, you can see that this buildable land is largely concentrated in Springbrook and then over in West Newberg. So we don't have a slide for it, but also wanted to discuss the additional land need associated with housing in that residential land sufficiency. So in addition to the direct housing need, where low density and medium density see a surplus of 89 and 11 acres respectively just for housing, and high density has a deficit of 11 acres, the analysis accounts for employment, public and semi-public, and group quarters uses that are expected to locate on residential land. So group quarters are non-standard housing units, so college dorms or nursing homes. The projected growth in this category in the H&A mirrors the recent trends that they saw, representing approximately 8 acres of land, and that's allocated to high density residential areas. The employment uses in the economic opportunities analysis assume that approximately 300 employees will locate in residential areas, so 19 in retail and 284 in office and commercial services. And this is based off of the percentage of employment in those zones that was seen in 2018 from the quarterly census of employment and wages. So 15.8% of land in residential zones was used for those employment uses, and the H&A continues that assumption moving forward. And then finally, the sufficiency analysis includes public and semi-public land. So this includes municipal, which were based off of discussions with the city, county, state, and federal agencies at the time of the analysis, which included public works, water and wastewater facilities, library site expansion, city hall expansion, and downtown parking lots. These municipal uses that were identified then were expected to use 7 acres in low density residential and 9 acres in medium density residential. The park need calculation looks at level of service that are adopted in the comprehensive plan and also in CPRD's master plan. So this includes neighborhood parks, which require 2.5 acres of land per 1,000 residents, and community parks, which are larger at 5 acres per 1,000 residents. And so looking at the population forecast of about 8,000 new residents. The combination of these two park types represent approximately 60 acres of parkland. And so the analysis distributed that 60 acres equally amongst low, medium, and high density at 20 acres per piece. And also assumes that, that this park area is located on residentially designated land, that as these spots develop, some parks are located on that land. And then the last category is semi-public land. So that's churches, nonprofits, et cetera. And the HNA, again, looks at historic trends from 2020. And the city had 4 acres of these uses per 1,000 residents. And so looking at that population forecast, that's how they arrived at that need for semi-public. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Scott and move on to the recommendations and any questions.
Well, thank you, James. And it's a lot of numbers. And I think in addition to what James was describing with a new population forecast, if you were to defer adoption of the housing needs analysis and pick it up again in the next cycle, the next planning cycle with the state, we spoke with our counterparts at DLCD. And what we learned is that there is a way for the city to request a modification to the work program. And we would want to check in with Yamhill County as well, because the sequential scope was approved by both this council and the county board. And we would submit that to DLCD. And their feedback was that, one, I was concerned that if we deviated from the plan, that we might end up having to pay for this work entirely on our own if we were to redo it or do it again in the next few years. And what we learned is that the state is in a rulemaking process right now, following the most recent housing legislation, and also back to 2019, when House Bill 2003 at that time was adopted. It set direction for the state to create what's called an Oregon Housing Needs Analysis, a statewide housing needs analysis. And so they're in that process now. The rulemaking that's underway will, at the end of that process, will direct this different agency. I think it's the Office of Economic Analysis, the same agency that produces the budget forecast, and they're charged with creating allocations of population and not population, but housing. So we have population forecasts that are created by PSU, and currently we have housing needs that are developed by each jurisdiction, by each city, based on those population forecasts, using methodology that the state has provided and that we've been using for years. The change that's coming with the rules that are anticipated to be adopted by the end of this year, that would go into effect January 2025, would establish Department of Administrative Services issues housing allocations for cities such as ours. And there's several changes that they're incorporating into their methodology that could have an effect either way. It could have the effect of the result could be that there's a greater housing need than what we would have otherwise come to on our own, or it could be mitigated in some ways. So they're looking at what they call underproduction. So in the past, we would project housing needs. We would look at the population forecast over the next 20 years, and through this analysis that James described, out the other end would come a number of housing units, and it would be there'd be a different strata of housing needs based on projected income. Underproduction says that we're also going to account for the housing that should have been produced over the past number of years, but is now a deficit. So I think when we get a housing allocation in 2025, they're anticipating that it'll reflect both the forward-looking need as well as some deficit or underproduction that we've in all cities have experienced over the years. So that's one change. The second change is that they're looking at second homes and short-term rentals. They're recognizing that some communities have a large percentage of those dwellings that are really not available as housing, as permanent housing. I think we do have a small percentage of short-term rentals or vacation rentals that would be factored in there. The third area that they're looking at is houseless individuals, and looking at the need the existing need that exists, that if we were to plan for housing at all different income levels, what would be that increment of housing that we need to plan for to account for those who are already houseless in order to mitigate that, but also plan for our housing needs going forward. So that's what is happening now at the state through the rulemaking. They're promulgating rules that will direct the state to allocate housing needs to each city so that we're not actually doing that on ourselves. It's being handed down to us. So that could cut either way. The next change that comes about is by the end of 2025, the state is tasked with, LCDC is tasked with adopting rules that will make changes to how urban growth boundaries are assessed, how the need for urban growth boundary expansion is evaluated, including how we prepare our buildable lands inventory. So if we do not move forward with the H&A in some form this summer, according to our work program, we will be expected to develop a new one. We'll have new directions, new parameters with how that's prepared. And of course, we'll have a different buildable lands inventory at that time because that wouldn't occur until 2026 with a deadline of December 31st, 2026. We would be expected to have our new housing capacity analysis completed. So those are some of the changes that are happening. There's a lot of uncertainty there, but we do know that if you were to defer adoption of the H&A and instead ask the state for a modified work program, we would be going to them, and I believe we would be asking them to put us in the next cohort of housing needs work. We would be among other cities who have a deadline of 2027 rather than 2024, or rather than 2032, which is where we're at today. If you adopt this and we complete this task, the next time we would be expected to develop a new housing capacity analysis is by 2032. So that's the timeline that I would anticipate, grant funding for doing this work. If we ask for a modified work program and they approve 2027, we're told that provided all things remain constant, which they never do, with the legislature, the governor's office, the agency, they're expecting, the next tranche of housing planning funds to support this work. And we wouldn't be penalized for making that ask. We can make the ask, and I think we could articulate some very sound reasons for making that request based on if the council wanted a more recent data set, if you wanted to work with the newest population forecast, if you wanted to account for more recent development patterns that we're experiencing, those would all be potential reasons to ask for that. Otherwise, the staff recommendation is to consider adoption of the 3 studies that have been presented. So you have alternatives, is what I'm trying to say. We would want to, if the direction, let me just complete that thought. If the direction were to make that request to DLCD, we would recommend coming back with a modified ordinance that adopts only the economic opportunities analysis, but not take action on that until we've received feedback from DLCD so we know where we stand with that request. I hope that helps.
Time for council deliberation. I can tell you that I think the right course of action is the last thing that they mentioned. What am I missing here? I believe that we should go back to them and ask for modification. Any other thoughts?
I don't know if this is appropriate, but I am really curious what City Manager Worthy thinks and would hope. This has been a lot of work by the team you've been leading over the last few years, and I know we've had some change in direction. I support what Mayor Oscar just said, if that's the will of the council, but I am curious what City Manager Worthy thinks and respect. This is a lot of information to digest. I know, but
I think, Honorable Mayor and Council, that we have seen a lot of unexpected high-density development that came in a little faster than we were expecting from the original tranche of planning. And I think that if there's an avenue open to us to kind of reboot after all this huge wave of new state rules come out, that maybe that would be the better approach, is to punt on this for now. Of course, it's got consequences for, we'd have to retire one of our strategic goals for a while and bring it back later. But we've heard some very wise people in the community point out to us that high density has moved faster than we thought it would. We've also heard from some people in the community that have pointed out that, in fact, our church land is doing well and more services could be added and more capacity that way. So I guess, not being a planner and not playing one on television, I guess I would say punting till later and getting more up-to-date data, and especially to see what's going to happen with these rules. That would be what I would think.
I wish I'd had a chance to meet with you last week, but I was in North Carolina. When you said I think you said that LCDC will have new rulemaking, they're working on that. That always concerns me. It's more control at the state level. However, for us to have new population data available in just about a month, it sounds like, and yet continue to use data that's from 2021, is that the right year? That doesn't seem wise. Maybe I'm off a year or two. And also, unless Mr. Talt's public comments were way off the mark, which I don't think they were, I think it's will just confirm that for me, that we don't need as much land, that we're doing better with building high density faster than was projected in the previous analysis. So all of that's to say, I agree with the mayor.
So I kind of go along with the same thought that other counselors. But is there a way that we can move forward and just tweak part of it? Like the church lands, I think that data is off. I think the high density data that we've been giving is off. So how difficult would it be if we were to move forward and say, can you get more accurate data for us and come back, let's say, in 2 months? So it gives you time, or is that not enough time? Is with what you guys are already doing, would that just not be reasonable, and you would need 90 days or something like that, and come back to us with that little tweaking, and then we just move forward? Because I don't want to stop completely, but I don't want to just go with the economic side. I'd like to move it forward and just tweak one side of it and just continue going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate the questions. I think when we look at these numbers, they suggest a level of precision that isn't really there. And these are aggregated numbers. And so I think what James was pointing out is that the 11 acres of land need for multifamily housing is really sort of an aggregation of, and there are other components to that. If you're developing a neighborhood, you're not just developing 11 acres of high density housing. Usually there are parks, and you get up to a high enough population, there's schools and other things we're planning for. So I don't want to leave anyone with the impression that these are the dialed in final numbers, because the next step in the process, if you were to move forward with this, the next step in any process, if we were to take this up again in a few years, is to look at how the community is actually planned and how much of it is high density. How high is high density? Are there other sort of medium and lower density plans that are part of that community plan? And so I think that what we found and what we tried to do is respond to the council's questions around, how are these density numbers derived? And what we found is that they are based on the development patterns and the trends that the communities has observed, at least in that time frame that was studied. And I think it was up through 2018. So we're confident in the numbers themselves as a planning tool, but they're not the plan. And that's what we would be doing next. And so I think to answer your question, Councilor McBride, how much work would it be to get in and try to fine tune some of those numbers? I think it's work. I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's a lot of work because one piece sort of, you pull one piece out and there are other pieces that are all, calibrated with that. It's not to say that it couldn't be done, but there would be a cost associated with that. It's not something we would be confident, doing without the consultant's input. But one other thing I wanted to just respond to Councilor Kilberg, and you were saying it would be nice to be working with some more recent data and population figures particularly. I want to just note that if you do move forward with the economic opportunities analysis and defer or decommission the housing work and come back to that, we would be working with the 2021 analysis for the employment side on the industrial side. And then when we pick up the housing work in a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, we would be using the most recent population. So there'd be those two wouldn't be in sync, but that's not a fatal flaw. And other jurisdictions I've worked with have adopted these stepwise. They're not always done simultaneously. So it's possible to work with two different population forecasts. You have anything to add?
Okay, so, one thing, and I don't know if you talked about it with DLCD in your understanding is, in our work plan, we did propose to them task 1 as a combined HNA, EOA, and PSP. So one avenue could be modifying the work plan to adopt them sequentially. I don't know how practical it is, but some jurisdictions in their sequential plan do HNA, send off a DLCD, EOA, send off a DLCD. So it might add opportunities for appeal or other factors, but that could be one thing to consider, modifying it that way as well.
That would be the approach if you decided that you wanted to try to tweak this HNA and adopt the employment study first and then do modification. That would only be if that were the will of the council. I don't know if that is.
And then I guess just one comment as far as the data frequency. So the population projections from PSU come out every 4 years. So this one was based off of the 2018 to 2022. And then this new one that is official in June is part of the 2022 to 2026. So we would expect to see a new projection in 2028. And so while the buildable land scenario changes a lot, the population forecast changes less frequently than development on the ground. So that's just kind of one element of the buildable lands inventory might reflect how it is this second if we were to do it, but the population projection will age as time goes on until the new one comes out.
I should be able to do this, but I'm just curious if you can succinctly say what we risk of not moving forward with this now and punting the HNA down.
So on the one hand, not moving forward now, but checking in with DLCD and asking them if they would accept a modified work plan. There's no risk in asking that. And we have, according to our current work plan, adoption of one or more of these studies this summer is our target, if you will. So we have time to do our due diligence on this. There's no risk associated with that. If ultimately DLCD does not accept or if these were your requests, did not approve a modified work plan and and you chose not to adopt a housing needs analysis, there is precedent for that. There was another community, I believe it was Pendleton, that did not adopt their HNA. They were asked to adopt one, I think, a year later and didn't meet the deadline. And so then they went into an enforcement mode. And I don't think we want to go there, but there are consequences for not following the state requirements.
So, shall we follow the recommendation, table this from now, let him have some additional conversations with the LCDC and bring it back to us when we have better information? All right, so be it.
May I ask for,
Go ahead.
oh, I was just going to ask for clarification on when we go to DLCD, is it the council's direction that we inquire as to modifying our work plan such that the city would adopt a housing capacity analysis by 2027 or by some date that would be a logical deadline based on the state program, or what would we be asking the state to do? I guess I'm asking for clarification.
I think we agree with that. That's what we would like you to do, is to have further conversation, see where we go from here. Leave it if we could let it die without, yeah.
So can we not proceed? It has to go together as one piece. It can't, because I mean, if we can split it a little bit, tweak the housing needs part, but still push forward the economic part of this package, can we not do that?
Before you answer that, can I point out that the problem is that we are going to invest $700,000 of taxpayer money in completing this process, just to get to a point where Thousand Friends of Somebody is going to sue us, hold us up, and the brass ring at the end of this for us is 0 R1 land, a few acres of R2, a few more acres of R3, and about 100 acres of industrial land. I mean, it's certainly not worth the $750,000 investment that we would have to make to get there. That's my reason for wanting to let this go. I'm hoping that in the meantime, the state will realize that a process that we use 10-year-old documents to start a calendar that's going to start in a few years and extend for 20 years is ridiculous. I mean, you've just heard him. It's a state. Anyway, thank you.
You know, my fear with this whole thing is that, similar to yours, but I don't think it's going to get better. And so at this level, it seems like we have a little more control over the process. Is that accurate?
I think we're working within a planning framework that has been in existence for a long time. And it has its flaws, but we know what it is. And it has a level of uncertainty. The risk is that we don't know what we don't know in terms of the rulemaking process. On the other hand, that rulemaking process is, I think the direction from the legislature has been to have a more predictable urban growth boundary process. So that's their goal, but we've heard that before. So we'll see.
So Derek, did you have a recommendation based on that?
I feel like we should accept the staff's recommendation and move forward. I just don't think it's gonna get any better. And like you said, there's 1,000 Friends of Someone. They've already, in these reports, have already said there's not enough. The land is already short in this housing needs analysis. I don't, what's that? No, their public comments, I'm agreeing with you that in the future, 1,000 Friends of Somebody are gonna come in and say there needs to be more high density land, more medium density land. It's in their public comments and stuff that was given to us.
somebody want to make a motion or we table this whole thing? I say let's move on. Thank you, gentlemen. I mean, are we clear enough that I think Scott wants better direction than that?
Well, just at a staff level, I feel a responsibility to answer these questions that you have about, you don't have all the information. If you had more information on our ability to modify our work program, we believe that there is a pathway for that, but until we ask to do that, or we make a sort of an informal request or inquiry, we don't know. Would that be helpful to the council to at least have some feedback from the state as to whether that avenue is open to us? We would have to make a written request, and we would hear back from them. I don't feel like we have authorization. I don't feel like we have direction to do that.
I think more data gathering would still be useful. And I think your point is really well made, Scott, about will the COTEC UGB reforms amount to anything, or will they not amount to anything? And that is not knowable right now. So if we defer, it's really because we're hopeful that there'll be a more regular and more straightforward path towards expansion. But we can't know that for sure. And there is a risk to public finance, which is huge, potentially for a very small acreage in gain. So I think if I understand, if I've read the will of council correctly, what we're saying is table for now, but still ask the questions.
Happy to do that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
That brings us to agenda item 8, the adoption of the city budget.
Good evening. This is a public hearing. I think you have to call it in. The next 3 are public hearings. Yeah. I have my pretend gavel. No. Yeah.
Declarations of conflicts or conflicts of interest or abstentions, please. Seeing none, all right. So the staff report.
All right, everybody has just finished coming off the budget committee, so you guys have all seen the budget. The 2024-2025 approved budget equals $130,200,463 with 148 FTE. The approved property tax rate is $2.9852 per 1,000 assessed value. The budget reflects the direction and priority of City Council to meet the needs of the community. And that ends my presentation.
All right, is there any discussion? Seeing none.
I think we actually just need to acknowledge how incredible Katie is, though, because that was the best budget season I have been through, and you're
Thank
so organized and so reliable and so efficient, and we can trust you 100%. And I just think you need to publicly have a round of applause.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, would you like to make a motion while you're at it?
Okay, I move that we adopt 2024, what was it? 3929 city budget 2024-2025.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. Since this is a public hearing, we probably should have roll call votes. Melissa?
Alrighty, roll call votes. Counselor McBride,
Yes.
Counselor Wheatley,
Yes.
Counselor Yarnell Holloman,
Yes.
Counselor Kilberg,
Yes.
Mayor Rosacker,
Yes?
Counselor Crum.
Yes.
Measure passes.
All right.
Next is state share revenue.
Okay. Yeah,
Again?
yeah,
All right.
we have to do the whole process.
That's why we moved those together.
I know.
Okay. I thought, all right. Call the meeting to order. Declaration of conflicts of interest or abstentions? Seeing none, we're ready for our staff report.
All right, can you put up the attachment, Melissa? So in order for us to receive state shared revenues, cities are required to pass an ordinance or resolution each year to elect to receive state shared revenues. And then we're required to hold a public hearing on the uses of those revenues. And in just a second, we're gonna have a handout of how we have incorporated those into the budget. Sorry.
Yes.
Just to fill in a little bit of time while we're waiting for this to come up on the screen, it just struck me recently that our total operating budget is smaller than last year's operating budget. The total budget is a little smaller. And I would suggest that that might be the only city in the entire state, if not the union, that achieved that without a major crisis of any sort, right? Can you imagine if the federal government reduced its deficit in that sort of similar way? Incredible. I just
Be
thought I'd
impossible.
mention.
And what was what's how much less is it than last year?
I think 22%. Yeah.
See, I
Yes,
listened,
that's what we're looking
I
at.
listened to your proposals and I remembered the
I
22%.
know, you did. You really latched onto that. I'm impressed. There it is. Okay. So these are the uses of the state shared revenue in our budget, and you can see we have some in the general fund, some in Fund 13 for the 911 dispatch, and then some in Fund 2. And these were the same that we approved during the budget committee process, which was approved on May 14th by the budget committee. Does anybody have any questions on the uses of the state shared revenues? Right?
All right. So there is no public comment, so I close public testimony. And I'm assuming the recommendation from staff is to pass this.
Yes, please.
So would anybody like to make a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution, 2024-3930.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass resolution 2024-3930. All in favor, signify, we should do a voice or a roll call vote.
Alrighty, Counselor McBride,
Yes.
Counselor Wheatley,
Yes.
Counselor Yarnall Holloman,
Yes.
Counselor Kilberg,
Yes.
Mayor Rosacker,
Yes.
Counselor Crum.
Yes.
Motion passes.
One last time. Okay, cities located within a county having more than 100,000 residents are allowed to receive state shared revenues if the city provides at least 4 or more essential services to determine eligibility to receive those state shared revenues. The city of Newberg certifies that we provide the following municipal services: police protection, street construction, maintenance and lighting, sanitary sewer, storm sewers, planning, zoning, and subdivision control, and water utility service. Pass resolution, or adopt resolution 2024-3931.
Would anybody on council like to make a motion? Mike?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2024-3931.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Shall we have a roll call vote, please?
Counselor McBride,
Yes.
Counselor Wheatley,
Yes.
Counselor Yarnell Holloman,
Yes.
Counselor Kilberg,
Yes.
Mayor Rosacker,
Yes.
Counselor Carmen.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Katie. We still have no public comments. Is that correct, Melissa? So I'm gonna close public comments. And it is time for the consent calendar. There are two items on the consent calendar. And if I can get back to them. Is there any reason, does anybody want to move either of these items off the consent calendar? Would somebody like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the consent calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. So that brings us to new business. And, I'm sorry. The only item that we have for new business is actually, should be under council business, I guess. And that is how we react to the YCAP, Board of Directors. We have less than a month until the existing shelter that we have is going to close for good. We have had no communication from YCAP stating that they're gonna do anything other than whatever they're doing. Their navigation center, which isn't gonna be open until sometime in the fall. So we are going to open our campground, regrettably, because we're gonna need it. I guess at this point, where do we go from here? I know that probably the biggest carrot that we have is the house that we gave to YCAP to run a homeless shelter. And I was wondering, James, is that something that we can enforce on YCAP? The requirement to either use it as a shelter for our population or give it back to us?
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm gathering that you're obviously referring to the house on College Street where YCAP is already made plans and has been working towards putting a navigation center there for Newberg. We have had an opportunity to take a look at what I believe is a fair amount of the documentation surrounding the original transaction. And by original transaction, I mean the conveyance of the property from the city to YCAP. I guess there are a couple of directions we could go. I would raise with the council on how we want to discuss that. If it's something that where council kind of wants to get into some of the detail on how the transaction was documented. And I appreciate, this is from 2004, I believe. So I don't think no one was here in 2004 in this capacity. So I can dive into a little more detail. I would recommend that if we get into that detail, an executive session may be the appropriate space to do that. That said, obviously, entering into an executive session, we need three counselors or the mayor, if that's something that is amenable to council, we can do that. Either, for this meeting, in connection with this meeting or a future meeting.
I'm looking at the city manager here because he runs the schedule. Why wouldn't it be appropriate for you to go ahead and start to look into that issue? And then we'll schedule that for the next meeting? Is that?
Yes, and my office can prepare for a more kind of robust or comprehensive briefing of council in that session. I'm seeing head nodding, so I don't think there needs to be a formal motion. I guess I would just ask if anyone objects, speak now, but otherwise, we'll plan to be prepared for that discussion at a upcoming meeting as decided by the city manager and the mayor on scheduling.
Remind me what the ARPA funds, are they involved? Are they at risk? They were given an extension, I believe, to June 30th. Could you update it?
So it's not so much in a sense that ARPA funds are at risk. The ARPA funds were utilized in the manner that they were supposed to be. It's just that everybody anticipated that we were going to be further along in terms of the actual opening of the shelter by now. So it's more about the proximate risk that the community now has because of having no shelter at the end of the month, which has raised this. With regard to ARPA, we would expect to have to see everything fully operational by the end of this year because of the ARPA rules, but that doesn't help us in the short term.
Does anybody have any other business that they would like to bring up today? Go ahead, Will.
Thank you, sir. Recently I sent an email out listing some possible courses of action with regard to the current school board financial issues, which Katie has done a bit of research on as much as we can from the outside and discovered that their financial problems are even more dire than it had appeared in the newspapers. So it would seem. Perhaps a number of $14 million is a number. Now, it's not our business, really. It's a different taxing district. However, it would be good if the council could email me back with their opinion and I've kind of laid out some possible options so as to know what to do.
Can I ask a question about that? So piggybacking on Katie's amazing comment, I don't want to be disruptive to all of the work that really the two of you have championed over the last few years to get us to the place that we are. And I want to be respectful of that. I also want to be respectful of our city, of our council goals that we have put forward and I feel like made pretty significant progress on. That said, I feel like this situation, they have a June 30th budget adoption date, and they are supposed to pass their budget on June 10th with the budget committee, and then June 24th adoption by city council, by school board. And so I feel although it is not necessarily our obligation, I feel like it is a showing of good faith to support Dr. Phillips and their administrative team and the school board and our community as a collective whole, as at some point everyone will be impacted to some degree, whether you have a kiddo in school, whether your family member is a staff member, whether the list goes on. But so I really appreciate that Katie so quickly worked with city manager Worthy to see what options we could potentially have. And, I just wanted to bring forward $265,000 a year, which I believe is due to the city of Newburgh by July 3rd, is 2.6 teachers. And so I think it's a rare opportunity that we have to, given the financial position that our team has put ourselves in, that we even have options, frankly. And that's a pretty big deal. So although I don't love the options, I don't love more 2.6 teachers or the SRO program coming before as an option for reductions. So that's it.
I'd like to say that I agree with you. We worked to get that SRO established, the second one this year. So if the need arises, I see, I would definitely be in support of that. I feel bad about what's happening to the school board. I'm glad that we're not going through it, and I don't, quite know what to say to them, but thank you. Any other new business? Will?
Just to say that staff will, as always, enact the will of council. So if as soon as you guys send me your emails back with that decision, then we'll start to figure out how to get there.
All right, meeting's adjourned. Let's take a few-minute break, and then we're having another meeting right behind us. Is that right?
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 3rd meeting of the Newberg Urban Renewal Agency. Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Counselor McBride.
Yes.
Counselor Wheatley. Here. Counselor Yarnell Holman. Here. Counselor Kilberg.
Here.
Mayor Rosacker.
Here?
Counselor Carmen.
Here. And I haven't been made aware of any public comments. Do we have any?
No public comments.
Okay, so into new business, the adoption of the 2024-25 NERA budget.
Now it's your turn to do the fun public hearing.
Okay, well, at this time, does anyone have any conflicts of interest or abstentions? All right, seeing none, we'll go to staff reports.
All right, same thing as the city budget, the NERA budget for 2024-2025. The approved budget equals $859,600. And this is only the second year of the NERA budget, so there's not a lot of activity going on just because of it still being so new. And that's it.
Thank you, Katie. And there is no public testimony, so I'll close public testimony. And recommendations from staff.
Adopt resolution 2024-10.
Need
Mr.
deliberation.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to move that we adopt 2024-10.
Yes.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 2024/10. All in favor? Or I guess we need sorry.
No worries. Counselor McBride.
Yes.
Counselor Wheatley.
Yes.
Counselor Yarnell Holman.
Yes.
Counselor Kilberg.
Yes.
Mayor Rosacker.
Yes?
Counselor Carmen.
Yes,
Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
thank you. And then quickly, if you guys can just think about, we need someone to serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee, now that Molly is left, we need a new chair of that. So if you guys can consider that and think about it until our next meeting, and then let me know if you're interested, and we can make some, we can appoint someone hopefully.
I'm not volunteering, I just have a question. So you're looking for a council member to chair the Citizen Advisory Committee? Is that right?
Yes, according
Okay.
to the bylaws, it needs to be one of. Any other questions about that? All right, meeting's adjourned.